President Donald Trump was on Fox News this morning after hosting Ukraine's President Zelenskyy and European leaders at the White House yesterday. He says he's working to set up a meeting between Russia and Ukraine.
Maybe they're getting along a little bit better than I thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up the 2 meeting. I would have set up a 3, a trilat. But I think they're doing a little bit better. There's been tremendous bad blood.
Joining me now is Inna Sovsun. She's a Ukrainian MP. Good morning. Good to see you again. What is the feeling in Ukraine following Zelensky's meeting yesterday in Washington?
Well, on the one hand, people are happy that there is a process, a negotiations process. We are very happy that finally our partners in the West, the Europeans, the Americans, are willing to discuss an issue of critical importance to Ukraine, that of security guarantees. We are more skeptical about the promises from Vladimir Putin for obvious reasons. We have just heard a quote from President Trump say that there is lots of bad blood. Well, there is lots of blood of Ukrainians in between our nations, and that is why I believe that the meeting is going to be extremely difficult for President Zelenskyy, of course. So we don't very much trust what Putin is saying, but we very much hope that the European leaders and American leadership are now willing to push further to push Vladimir Putin so that we can get a deal and set up peace in Ukraine.
What about ceding territory to Russia? How is that going over in Ukraine? We've heard President Trump hint that it will likely have to be part of any agreement, any peace agreement. Zelenskyy does not seem to be in favor of that. What's the feeling there?
Well, first of all, it's very unclear what is meant by ceding the territory, because there can be one understanding of that. That would be that we recognize de facto Russian control over the territories that they have taken over. So we basically freeze the conflict lines and not legally, but recognize the situation de facto. That is one situation. Quite a different one is recognizing legally that Russia now has taken over Ukrainian territories. That's going to be close to impossible. And then there is yet another interpretation of that ceding the territory issue, and that would be the idea that Ukraine should give up more of its territory, even the territory that Russia doesn't control now. And you can imagine how that would be completely unacceptable to Ukraine, of course, like it would have been for any other nation. So I think that the issue of maybe freezing the conflict lines is something where we can something that we can agree with, and that is probably what the President Zelenskyy was hinting as potentially acceptable.
And you've hinted at this, but I'm wondering about security guarantees in the future. What would you like to see short of joining NATO?
It's probably important to remind to our viewers that Ukraine has had an issue with security guarantees before. In the early 90s, Ukraine gave up our nuclear weapons arsenal in exchange for security guarantees. So we basically said, okay, we are not going to be owning nuclear weapons, but in case we are under attack, the guarantors of our security will come up and help us. And unfortunately, those security guarantees didn't materialize. So we ended up alone when we have been attacked in 2014 and then in 2022. So that is why for Ukrainians, the very issue of security guarantees is very sensitive, because we remember what happened with the previous one. That is why it will have to be something more tangible than just something written on paper, something in the form of potentially peacekeeping missions across the conflict line, promises to control airspace above Ukraine, something more tangible, because sheer assurances of security are not going to do the job. They're not going to be trusted by Ukrainians because of bad history in that direction.
Inna Sovsun is a Ukrainian MP. Thank you again for your time with us. Good to see you.